Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers with the Starter Girls. I'm Jennifer Loading.
And I'm Brianna Dorellis, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, magic makers, and the dreamers.
That's right. These are our friends. These are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. Today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills, photographer of Glad Models Agency. If you are here in the Dallas or surrounding area and looking for some photography work, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him and his work at photosbywalt.com. All right, we are super excited. We're bringing this a little bit differently today because we've got Brianna on camera, and so this is going to be a lot of fun. Do want to welcome our guest to the show. I'm super excited to meet you, Stu. Brianna has talked so many amazing things about you, but for our listeners, Stu Massengill is a peak performance strategist for Tony Robbins and the founder of Finding Direction. Through his podcast and university, he helps people go from lost in life to creating a life full of passion and fulfillment. As a high achiever under 30, Stu has accomplished many things, from building an 8-figure business at 20 years old to beating cancer at 24 years old. Stu brings his passion and heart to create lasting impact across the globe. So welcome to Behind the Dreamers, Stu. We are super thrilled to have you here today.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer and Brianna, both of you, thank you so much for having me here. I am extraordinarily excited to just chat and see where the conversation goes. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And I know Brianna's going to have lots of questions because I'm just now learning about you. Like I said, she had mentioned so many great things, so I had to go check your profile out and see who this new guy is that we need to be meeting. So Brianna, just, when you have one, if we're delayed a little bit, just maybe put your hand up in there and wave me down if we need to. So Stu, I want to kind of kick things off. You tell us a little bit about what it is exactly you do. Let our listeners know who you're serving and how you're helping them.
Totally. So I kind of do a few different things, which I think is sometimes the world and the life of an entrepreneur is you're, juggling many different things. So one of the things that I do is I'm a national trainer for a gentleman, maybe some of your listeners have heard of, named Tony Robbins. And basically what that entails is I go in and I work with companies, Tony's content on a much smaller scale from what Tony teaches. So Tony goes and speaks to, let's say 5,000, 10,000 people. I more talk to groups of anywhere from 10 to 1,000 and teach some of the strategies and things that Tony teaches and go into companies of all size, shapes, and sizes. So that's one of the things I do. And then on top of that, I also have a company myself called Finding Direction. And within Finding Direction, we're really on a mission to help people do work that lights up their soul. We could talk this entire podcast about this, but I think there's unfortunately too many people in the world that don't really do things that they love. There's statistics that say 80% of people hate the work that they do. We're going through the great resignation right now where, more people than ever are resigning because they're realizing that they're not fulfilled. They're not actually enjoying the thing that they're doing. And COVID's kind of been a wake-up call for so many people to, leave and move on. And so within Finding Direction, we kind of help people realign to like that inner fire in your soul and help you figure out what do you want to do with your life, and then teach people how do you actually make it a reality. So we do that we have a podcast, university, community, all sorts of different things. And that's kind of the mission of everything we do at Finding Direction.
I love it. I want to ask you, I guess, about this Finding Direction. So this is a university. Is this like a course that they go through that helps them really just hone in on like what their gifts are and kind of narrow in to finding that passion? A book? How does all this work?
Yeah, so for the university, it's a 6-week process that we take people through. And really how the process kind of came about, to expand upon it a little bit. When I was 22 years old, you touched on it kind of in my bio a little bit. I was fortunate enough to lead an organization where we did 8 figures in business. And I was doing work that like lit up my soul. Like there's a saying, it says, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I was really lucky that at a pretty young age, relatively, I was able to find that. I was able to do things that like lit up my soul, where, the cliche, I didn't need an alarm clock to wake up, all those sort of things. And right around when I was 22, 23 years old, I had a massive change of life events where I was no longer able to do that. And I kind of went back to ground zero. I went back to this place of waking up saying, what the heck am I supposed to do with my life? What's my purpose? Why am I here? It was, to this day, probably one of the most painful things that I've ever gone through, just feeling utterly lost. But what happened for me in that process as I kind of came back to where I am today is they say when the mind expands, it can no longer contract. And for me, my mind had expanded to the reality that you really can do work that lights up your soul, that doesn't feel like work because you're doing something that you love. And so I had to go to this place of figuring out, how do I get back to that place? How do I, now that I'm at ground zero, like how do I use the tools that I've cultivated over the last several years to actually find work again that lights up my soul, because I don't know what that is right now. And so I went through this whole process over probably 4 years of kind of getting back to really finding that thing that was like my passion in life and doing it as work. And that's how Finding Direction University came. Was, I had a lot of people ask me, okay, how are you, working for Tony Robbins and doing things like that? And so I realized that, there were these tools and kind of strategies that I cultivated over the years. And that's sort of what we teach now in the university, is how do you go from this place of, not really knowing what you want to do with your life to figuring it out and then also making it reality.
Wow. Powerful. I think you touched upon something too that I think is kind of remarkable, because you said that you found what you love to do at a very young age. And you just mentioned this about, in a previous conversation, that some people never figure that out. Like they go through their whole life and they never find their gifts, their talents. They never figure out what they love doing. And they think happiness is sort of a facade that you can never really find that. And I think when you do, and I think what's remarkable about this story is the fact that you had that and then you lost it. So you knew what you lost, and then you had to go back and say, how do I figure that out and regain that again? So I think, wow, that's remarkable. I love it.
Is this the whole university concept of it? I feel like this is a newer thing in the evolution of your Finding Direction business. Is it like over the past couple of years that the university has come up, or?
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked that. So the university we've had for about 2 years now, that we've been bringing different people through that program and kind of helping people with that direction. And now we're actually opening up a new program that we're going to be launching in about a month, depending on when this podcast goes live. So if you're listening to it, it may be live right now. But it's basically, in addition to, the university is a little bit more about how do you go from being lost to finding the thing that you want to do with your life and making it real. And then there's a whole other aspect of life where if you know what you want to do, or even if you don't know what you want to do, but you kind of feel stuck at the level that you're currently at, there's also strategies that we teach people on how do you get to the next level that you want to be at in your life at a faster rate. And so that's some of the things we're starting to teach now as well. Is, obviously we want to help people that feel lost, but there's so many people out there that feel stuck. And so it's also about helping us find direction to get to the next level we want to get to quicker. And that's something that we're putting out, again, depending when this podcast goes live. Maybe currently it's live, or maybe it'll be live in like a week or two.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So I have kind of a fun question. So you're a Tony Robbins trainer. I'm assuming you have personally been able to work with Tony Robbins. And I know a lot of us in this field, I mean, we all know Tony Robbins. He's a phenomenal speaker and trainer and just has so many amazing programs. What is that like? I think our listeners would want to know that. Tell us what that's like, because so many of them will never have that opportunity to be up that close and in that, in that space.
Yeah. One of the coolest things that I've been able to see, and this is just in the last, 2 years, I've been with Tony about 2.5 years now. And about the last 2 years, obviously we faced COVID and all of these things going on. And one of the most fascinating things was, I've been learning from Tony for probably 8 years now, but to see on the inside when COVID happened, when winter showed up, as Tony calls it, how he began to pivot in this crazy environment when COVID showed up. I mean, you go from throwing events with 12,000 people in a stadium to it being illegal to have more than 12 people in a stadium. And to see how he pivoted from that and came back, and now the business is booming again, that's something that I will never forget for the rest of my life. Just to see, a lot of people teach things in life, and then I think a handful of people live the things that they teach. And so to see Tony at such a large scale kind of practice the things that he teach, that was one thing that's been awesome as I've been able to work with him. And then another thing is, I get to go to all of his different programs because I'm within the company. So it's been such a cool process to just learn at such a rapid rate, because I'm doing every single program that he has multiple times a year. And when you immerse yourself that much, and that's a big thing that we teach in this world is immersion, right? Not, let's say many people that are listening to this probably learned Spanish for 2-3 years or a language in high school or college. And 90% of people don't remember that language because you weren't immersed into it. You learned a little bit over a long period of time. Versus what we teach in our world is if you immerse into something, that's when you have the biggest change. It's like if you want to learn Spanish, go move to Spain for 6 months and you're going to learn Spanish. So that's kind of the philosophy we teach. And so being immersed into this world at the deepest level over 2 years has caused a massive amount of growth for myself as well, which has been a really, really cool experience. And then the last thing that I would say is really cool is just surrounding yourself with really awesome people. There's, a saying, it says, you are an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I get to surround myself with some freaking unbelievable people every single day. And that's just been a really cool part to just surround myself with people that have higher standards for their life and kind of let that rub off on on each other. So that's been some fun parts about it.
Good stuff. Thank you, Stu. Hey, listen, this is a little insider. A lot of people know this, but I was in network marketing for 21 years. So all these quotes that you just keep popping off, like I know them, Zig Ziglar. I know all these quotes are coming out. I'm like, yes. But like 3 bullets out of what he just said was hang around awesome people. He talked about pivoting, which is so instrumental in entrepreneur. That sets the difference between, I think, failure and success is learning to be able to pivot, get up and move, right? And then you said one other thing. There were like 3 bullets in there. And I got to go back and listen to this because when we write this up, we're going to make sure those bullets are in there. But good stuff. Thank you. You want to add to that, Brianna?
Absolutely.
Anything?
Honestly, I'm so blown away by you, but I love how you talk about the immersion.
That's what it was.
Yes. The immersion process of it, because I've attended several Tony events, and I am actually, whenever he goes live again in person, I have a ticket to go to a live event, and I cannot wait.
Yeah.
But it's really, really simple or easy to sort of go, okay, well, I learned that then, and now I'm in this direction. And it's like, you have to go back and visit and revisit. And like you said, immerse yourself in the information so that it's almost washing over you consistently, so that you can retain.
Yeah, I mean, it really is, and you touched on it in such a beautiful way. It really is like you're building a muscle with your mind. Like an analogy I share with people a lot. It's like if somebody went into the gym and they walked out of the gym after one session, they're screaming to the skies, "I'm going to be fit for life." Everybody go, "You're freaking insane." No, you're not. You need to go to the gym a couple days a week. You need to have nutrition, and then you're going to be fit. But oftentimes in the entrepreneurship space or the business space, we learn things as an entrepreneur, or we immerse ourselves in a personal development event. And after doing it one time, we have this thought of, I'm going to go scream to the skies. Everything's in my life is going to change forever because I did one personal development dive. And it's just like someone coming out of the gym saying, I went and did one gym session and be fit for life. It's like, you need to condition yourself. You need to, multiple times a year. One of the things I do is at least 2 times a year, I immerse myself into some event where I learn new things that I'm not familiar with. I do some form of immersion personal development because that helps speed up the process of, getting to where I ultimately want to go, helping more people.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's good.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Stu, I had another question for you, and then I just got so into what you were saying there, I lost my thought on it again. This happens to me. It happens to me because I get so listening. I love the immersion thing. I agree with you both on that 100% because I think so often, especially as the older we get more set in our ways and more, we stop thinking that we need to learn. And as we know, personal development is really never a learned thing. I mean, you have to keep doing it. And for the record, I did take French for 5 years, so I do know some of it. I can understand some when I listen. But yes, immersion, 100%. Brianna, do you have a question? I got a game. I had a really good one that I was going to ask him. I got to think about what it was.
So I would just love to know when you were going through that difficult time in your early 20s,
Yeah.
coming from the place of where you are right now, what advice would you give to yourself at that time?
That's a great question. I think the advice I would have given to myself when I was lost, trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life, is try as many things as quick as you possibly can. Sometimes when we're stuck and we don't know what we want to do with our life, or we don't know how we can get to the next level, we kind of go into this place of like overwhelm, right? Especially when we're lost. It's like, there's so many things I could do. You go on social media, there's all your best friends have their life perfectly figured out, which is not true, but that's what's shown on Instagram. And you get into this sense of like, I could do these million different things. I don't know what the heck to do. And I think, at least from my perspective and what I've seen working from a lot of people, we sometimes get stuck in this frame of mind that if I try this thing, that means I have to do it for life. And that's totally false, right? The reality is, go try something, and that's the best way you're going to figure out if you like it or not, right? It's not that you have to do it for the rest of your life, but you get more clarity, right? It's like the way we found out we all like pizza is a simple, stupid kind of analogy. It's not that we looked at the pizza, smelled the pizza, our friend came by and was like, yo, pizza is delicious. And we were like, oh my God, I love pizza. Like, that's not how it happened. But so many of us go throughout our life and our friend goes, oh, marketing's really cool. You'd be really good at marketing. Marketing has all these perks. And we go, you know what? I love marketing. But we've never actually tried marketing. We've never tried pizza, yet we're thinking that that's what we actually like and want to do for the rest of our life, when the key is, the only way you know you're going to like that slice of pizza is if you try it. And many people need to take that approach in life, is you got to go try things. And if you fail, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, studies have started to show that if in a couple, I think it's like 1 of 2 people in every couple is going to live to 90 or 100 years old. So it's like, unless you're 89 years old, you have some time you can play around, you can try, you can experiment. And that's what's going to help you figure out the thing that ultimately lights you up. Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, would you rather spend 12 months trying different things, experimenting, realizing what you don't love, and getting more clarity on what you do love so you can do that for the rest of your life? Or would you rather spend 1 month because you feel like you need to have it all figured out, and then spend the rest of your life miserable? It's like, you got to give yourself grace, give yourself time to say, I'm going to try. I'm going to be that person in all my friend group that doesn't have it figured out right now. Because if I do that for a year, if I do that for 6 months and try all these different things, then in 2 years and 5 years, I'm going to be doing the thing that lights up my soul. So that's the advice I would give to myself.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people don't realize, though, that it's failure equals learning. So all the people that we look up to that we think are super successful have failed over and over and over and over again and just kept at it. And I think on now I'm pushing 50, so mind you on this one, it's one of the things that lot of us were ingrained in masculinity. You know, it's like, oh, you can't get hurt, you can't have feelings, you can't. So we forget that it's okay for us to ask for help. We think that we have to try and do it by ourselves all the time. And I think a lot of males, I'm not disqualifying females from this at all. I'm just saying that a lot of guys forget to ask for help. It's like, hey, it's okay to ask for help. It's not a bad thing, because I know that coming up through my successful journey in my life, I've had to ask for a lot of help, and I've failed a lot of times, and it's totally okay. You just got to pick yourself up and keep moving on.
Yeah. Failure is a prerequisite to success. But you know what? It's funny that you even brought all this up, Stu, because as you were saying all that, I was getting chills, because this is like, I'm disclosing this on this podcast right now. I just had this conversation with my middle child about trying things, because she's very frugal. And the conversation came up that she did not want to waste money doing something if she didn't think that was going to be something that she, wasn't sure if she was going to like. And I just had, oh my gosh, Stu, if I could have packed you up and put you in my pocket, take you with me to have this conversation. You're like a repeat behind me, like a parrot right now, because I said, how are you ever going to know what you enjoy doing if you're not willing to try anything to find out? Because we get all this blockage up there that, well, if that doesn't work, that means it's a failure. But first of all, wait a minute, nothing's really ever a failure, because there's always something to be learned. So if you go into it with an open mind that you're learning, even if you decide you don't like something, there's probably a piece of information, knowledge, something you took away from that particular event, that experience, right? Backs it all
and
up.
I think one thing to touch on what you said as well that's so true is it's like learning to go throughout your life in a mindset of abundance versus scarcity. Because so many times it's easy to go, well, I have this job and I don't love it, but like it pays the bills and it puts food on the table and, you know, I'm surviving. But it's like, you were not meant to go through life in 20, 30, 40 years of your life hating 5 days of your life out of the week. You know what I mean? But so many people get stuck in this sense of scarcity of, well, I have this and it's helped me survive, when the reality is somewhere in the world, someone is living a life that if you were living that life, it would blow your mind. You'd go, I did not even think this was possible. But the reality is because you're not stepping into an abundant mindset, you're never going to find that. Right? So you got to shift yourself from scarcity to abundance. You got to put yourself around people that if at first you go, your brain's so wired to scarcity, you got to surround yourself with people that are in that abundant mindset so that eventually you begin to pick it up. Right? You go, well, I got this job and I survive. And then you have someone that taps you on the shoulder because you're surrounding yourself with the right people that goes, no. You don't want to just settle. You want to live a life that excites you. Right? And so I think I just wanted to touch on that you said that. And one last thing that I thought of earlier that I just want to bring up in what we were saying is, who is it? It's Jim Carrey says this one quote, and I think it is so beautiful. And it kind of is like this scarcity abundance thing. And in COVID, it's been even more showcased, but he says so many people in this life choose fear disguised as practicality.
Amen.
You know what I mean? They go, I'm going to take the safe route, but it's really just fear disguised as practicality.
Does anybody else have chills right now? We're all sitting. I'm like,
So good.
I'm like, we're all listening to this. Soak it up and listen. Okay, Stu. So what's next? What's on the horizon for you? What have you got going on?
What's coming next is a lot of exciting things. I'm starting to do a lot more speaking, kind of in my own world. I do a lot of speaking with Tony. I'm starting to do a lot more speaking, just around the general vicinity of helping people figure out what they want to do with their life, finding direction in their life. Doing a lot of speaking on college campuses, doing a lot of work with network marketing companies, because I've also had some background there, and I'm kind of also do some training with that with Tony Robbins as well. And then again, some of the courses and programs we're launching. We have a community that's doing really well right now where we just have a group of people where every single month we get together a few times, and the whole goal is how do we enrich every aspect of our lives as a group, right? Because again, like we spoke about earlier, you become who you surround yourself with. So sometimes we're not as fortunate to surround ourselves with great people. So we've kind of built this community to say, hey, if you don't have a group of people that can help you kind of lift you higher, let us be that community for you. So we're building that. We have our new out around the Finding Direction University. But again, it's a little bit more enhanced, I guess you could say. It's not as much going from lost to figuring out what you want to do, but it's a little bit more if you know what you want to do and you feel stuck, how do you get to that next level? And so a lot of different things that we're doing. I'm definitely very excited about it. And, the goal is really just to help as many people as we possibly can.
I love it. Brianna, I think we need to do a few rapid fire. I don't know how rapid these are going to be with our delay, but we'll try them out. So, Stu, you've been awesome. I think we could probably sit on here for like an hour and just have maybe hours having conversation. Because I think it's always great when you get around people that are like abundance mindset, because a conversation can just kind of keep going and evolving and going and evolving. Yeah. I love it. So, Brianna, do you have some questions, some rapid fire you want to start with?
Yes, I would love to know what you're binging on television, if anything. Rapid fire.
I don't really watch TV.
That's a good answer, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not a huge TV person.
Shut that question down.
Yeah. That's what I got.
That's a good answer. I'm not going to lie, though, because I'm on Yellowstone right now. Thankfully, I'm not finishing the last episode so I can take a breather, because I've totally binged it in like 2 weeks. I mean, totally binged it. So, let's see.
Yeah, I haven't watched them because I know shows are I heard Ted Lasso was good, but I don't watch them because I know they're so good at making them that I know I will not win the battle of not getting sucked into a show. So I'm just like, I'm going to put it to the side. I'm not even going to try it because I know like directors are so good that if I get in the first episode, I'm going to lose.
Hooked.
There goes 12 hours. Yeah.
That's a smart move, Stu. That's exactly my philosophy. And typically it's like, if I can't watch a movie in like in an hour and a half, like I don't want to get involved in a series because I know I'm going to get hooked. And that's exactly what happened. So, all right. Besides Tony Robbins and your stuff, who's your next favorite? Let's go with maybe author. Who's your next favorite author?
Ooh, Dale Carnegie for sure. I read his book called How to Win Friends and Influence People when I was in my young 20s. And I grew up kind of as this like shy, quiet, introverted kid. So it just blew every belief I had about myself that I was a quiet, shy kid. And it taught me like how to be better with people. And it's massively changed my life. That is undoubtedly my favorite book ever.
We got the friendly Cash talking to us today, Brianna. The doorbell rang, and that's why Chris's dog's like giving us the cue out there. That was awesome, Stu. Okay, let's do
Nice.
Brianna, you got another one real quick, and then we'll wrap up here.
Yes. First concert.
That's a good one.
My first concert, I believe, was a Blink-182 / Weezer concert.
This is my favorite question.
And, yeah, it was great. I'm going to blank on his last name, Travis Barker, I believe, who's the drummer of Blink-182. They like elevated him, or is it Parker? Travis Barker?
No, B. Yeah, Barker. Yeah.
Yeah. They like lifted him up on the drum sets, and then he was like turning and doing like, he was like upside down playing drums. It was wild. That was my first concert. It was really fun.
Awesome. Well, Stu, this has
Good old
been
Blink-182.
This has been incredible. Thank you so much, you guys, both for being patient coming over the screen. I know it's not always the best way to do everything, but it worked, and we are so appreciative that you took the time to jump on here, talk about what you're doing. If our listeners wanted to learn a little bit more about you, what you've got upcoming, where do we want to send them?
I did not hear any of what you just said.
I was just saying.
Other than I heard you say it's been great having you on, and then it cut out.
Okay. Where do we send our listeners so they can learn a little bit more about you and what you've got going on?
Yes. So the best place, honestly, would just be come hang out with us on our podcast. Our podcast is called Finding Direction, and it's all about helping people kind of get to the next level of your life and figure out, kind of like we've been talking about, how do you go from lost to actually figuring out what you want to do with your life. So if people want to come check out and hang out with us on the podcast, we'd love to hang out with all of you. And then also I'm on Instagram at Stu Massengill. So kind of, go wander over there and find me there as well.
Perfect. We'll make sure too, when this goes out, that we get you tagged and make sure that all the right appropriate links, wherever they need to be, will be on there. So, and we do want to say to our listeners, of course, if you enjoy our podcast, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook, because we can't do this without you. And I think we have a couple final thoughts, don't we?
Absolutely. So this is very appropriate because it's actually a Tony Robbins quote.
Yeah.
And it's that energy is not only the basis of our existence, it is the fuel that makes everything in our lives real and possible.
Good stuff, Brianna. Thank you. All right. In order to live the extraordinary, you must start, and every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.